And then fortunately you came off to the side.
Thank God, yeah.
And then he probably just shook it free and tore that tooth loose.
Yeah.
And then tail swim off, or what'd you see?
I just saw, I didn't focus in on any details of the shark. I saw gray, I knew what it was.
Knew what to do.
But I was off on the side and I looked and I saw it and I started swimming away because my board was getting mangled. And then I looked back and it was just dead calm. It went away after it lost its tooth. And that's when I reeled my leash in, grabbed my board and booked. Well, we were out there and I paddled away from Chris because I wanted to go to the peak and get a wave.
We were just pretty much surfing on the shelf because it was kind of just a small day. Yeah, I was sticking to the shelf and Wes got one and paddled up next to me and was like, man, I'm gonna go outside and get one at the peak, get a set wave before dark. And I was like, right on, Wes, you're nuts. Because
tide was dropping and I figured it would be breaking before sunset. I had half an hour. So I digged for the outside and 20 feet before I got to the peak, it nailed me like a train, dude. And Chris said that it threw my board. I was surfing it like this. It threw me off to the right, and my board, Chris said, was up in the air, straight up 2 feet off the water, like this.
Just right then, shark just got him. Board went flying like 2 feet in the air, just 10-0, standing on end.
It blew me out of the water.
Wes just treading water, bunch of splashing, and I just knew right away there's only one thing I could be f***ing with him that far out there. It's definitely a shark.
And I was knocked over there to the right. And then board fell in the water, and when it was turbulence over there, I just saw a big gray thing, and it was a shark, and I saw my board. 3 seconds later, everything stops.
Just started like yelling his name, trying to get like a response from him and see if he was all right. And
I'm just sitting there just like, wait a minute, was that a seal? Was my buddy pulling my leash, messing with me? And sure enough, I knew what it was. It registered.
Yeah, I finally just saw him like pulling his leash super quick and flip his board around and just start kicking and stroking at the same time. And that's when I just like turned around and started doing the same.
And I just booked as hard as I could for the Sail Rock.
He actually beat me in. He was so like hyped on adrenaline, you know. And then we just paddled in until our fins were scraping on dry reef.
And when I got in, I realized that there's a tooth embedded in my board. And I'm here to tell you about it with all my arms and legs.
Good for you, man. Right on. Callahan.
Yeah. Sean.
Sean.
So meet you finally.
Good deal.
Come take a look.
Glad you made it.
I'm Mark from the review.
Marco, hi.
Yeah, good to meet you.
He didn't even close his mouth. It was just, bam, bottom,
The very leading edge of the
bottom teeth wedged in there. And this thing was probably loose and ready to go right there. So I'm assuming he approached from this side.
Is that a whole? Is there a whole tooth in there?
That's a whole tooth jammed up in there.
Oh man.
Or at least you can clearly see a root.
It's in there.
Yeah.
That's
So it must have been pretty loose anyway, and then jammed up in the tooth. He says that it maybe stuck on the teeth. The shark had this thing stuck on his teeth for a minute, eh?
Yeah, maybe that's why he was whipping around with a lot of turbulence with the board.
Because he didn't even grab onto it, apparently. He probably came up like this, lower jaw here with those teeth like this, and just like pitchforked it on. And then fortunately you came off to the side.
Thank God, yeah.
And then he probably just shook it free and tore that tooth loose.
Yeah.
And then tail swim off, or what'd you see?
I just saw, I didn't focus in on any details of the shark. I saw gray, I knew what it was.
Knew what to do.
But I was off on the side and I looked and I saw it and I started swimming away because my board was getting mangled. And then I looked back and it was just dead calm. It went away after it lost its tooth. And that's when I reeled my leash in, grabbed my board and booked.
Fast paddle.
Oh God, so fast.
But try to tease it out nice and easy.
Damn, that thing's in there.
Yeah, it really is. It doesn't look like a whole tooth anymore.
Just thick glass on this thing.
Yeah. There's a.
Can you tell
You
how
want
old the
to
shark
get
is?
this foam or no?
Yeah, possibly.
Not that.
Usually the ones that bite surfboards, contrary to many of the reports, are smaller sharks. It's hard to find
Little babies, I don't know.
well, not necessarily like preteens. I guess you wanted to find a funny, human analogy for it, but that they're almost invariably reported as 15 to 20 footers, no matter what.
Oh, so you can get a good sample.
Yeah, there may be a secondary
Thing's
fragment
broken.
wedged in there. There may be another fragment in there. I don't know for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, for this, they'd probably want to swab. What they'll do is scrape out from the interior there.
I see fiberglass pretty deep in there.
So it went like this. And there's another root on the opposite side, and the tooth part. It's like there's another root. It's like half. This is like a half the tooth. It's probably like this wide at the base.
Hold on your hand.
I'm getting, and probably this high. It's a maybe bigger shark than I thought.
No way, dude.
Yeah, at least 12.
It's like
14.
like that wide.
Yeah.
And then,
It looks like a lower middle tooth. You're a lucky guy.
The adrenaline rush just came back. It's like when you say 12 feet. Damn.
I'm thinking less than 14, more than 12. It's still well over, probably almost a ton.
Almost a ton.
Yeah. And they can go, 40 plus. So I don't think he was going that fast. But if they had that hit an elephant seal, it would have just like laid it way open.
Oh yeah. If it would have hit me, it would have laid me open.
But they're very sensitive. We use a seal lure, and they hardly ever bite it. But they'll come up and bump it, kind of thing. And had that thing sensed a seal, that other jaw would have slammed down, and they can just punch out these big 50, 60-pound bites. And it's just having watched both orcas and white sharks eat things. The white shark biting process is just really impressive because they just punch out these big chunks of whale or whatever it happens to be. Whereas orcas tend to grab on like vice grips and spin and kind of crocodile and peel chunks off. So I mean, this thing, Lou Bourne was attacked in 1990. There was half the surfboard had the big chunk out of it.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, they can when they want to, they can really put the hurt. But
one more thing to it is, here, get these things off. I'm gonna show you another ding. There's no shark teeth.
Is there on that side?
Yeah.
That pressure crack or something.
Yeah, check it out.
That's probably where your weight was maybe shifted.
It's right there. Go ahead and flip it over.
Yeah, your body weight may have caused that.
Here.
I'm wondering.
Here and here.
Yeah, you're laying here and the shark came up on this side. I'm wondering.
I fell off to the right side, so I fell off that way.
Toward him.
Yeah. So no. I fell off that way.
And it came up from. Because it looks like. And the way the tooth was positioned, it looks like he came up with a head on this side.
Yeah, I was laying on my board and I got hit and I fell off to the right. Didn't fall off, I got launched off to the right. So how did it attack?
Catapult. Well, it looks like from the curve of it that the shark came over like this, and this is his lower mouth hitting it. Sometimes they leave a clear-cut pattern.
And it just launched me like that, huh? That's why I guess so. Right?
Well, he's going to probably... No, there's no way for me to guess. You were there. But just to see the curve and the position of that root makes me think that he came, from this side. And lower jaw hit like this.
So maybe you flew
over the top of the thing or something like that. I don't know if he came at you like this or like this. So there's a different kind of. It depends on the attitude that he came
with
in.
The leading edge of his bottom jaw.
Yeah.
Just bang.
Those are the teeth that are always exposed. If you
they
see
can-
pictures of white sharks, somebody you don't even see the top teeth, but the bottom teeth are always like this. That's kind of like the pitchfork. They can grab things right off the bottom with that, and when they want to, they put out that other top jaw, upper palatal quadrant, and it just crunches down.
Wow, dude.
But yeah, you're so lucky.
You're fucking shaking again, man.
That's the second time that's happened at Mavericks. We've got more reports of sightings, etc., this year than ever.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Since 1990, since we've been doing this. And I think that's interesting that it seems to coincide with this year. We had an unusual run of squid, lots of them and big ones. I don't know that they're exactly linked, but maybe the same system that brought them in such a great abundance. And I don't think the sharks are here because of the squid, but whatever made the squid so abundant whatever climate fluctuation may have also brought an unusual number of sharks to the coast this year. And we're seeing different sharks like almost every time we go out, which is usually we run into a lot of the same animals, week after week. We'll start up at the beginning of the season, we'll run into a number of animals, some we know from previous years, some new ones, we'll tag them, then we'll see the same ones often over and over again. Yeah. And this year we've seen a couple of repeats, like 013, but other than that, they've been new sharks pretty much every time we go out, which is a bit unusual.
Where do they come from? You said Hawaii and
Yeah, there's probably several hundred animals, from juveniles to adults within the Eastern Pacific range, which is, south to Guadalupe, out to Hawaii, and far north is Oregon, and then back, and we're in what's called the Red Triangle. You call it the Fertile Crescent or whatever you want, the Red Triangle, and vaguely from, depending on who you talk to, either up to Bodega Bay or Point Reyes north, down to Big Sur, Monterey south, and then Farallones. It forms a southern elongated pointing triangle. But you have all that whale traffic, all the pinnipeds, there's just tons of the food right through there. But they're all the way down to Mexico and all the way up north to Oregon, Washington, and beyond that. But we're right in the center of the Eastern Pacific population range. Did you make contact on your arm or something like that?
Right here, yeah, all along my left side.
Wetsuit on?
I was like this on my board, like this, just just chilling.
Wetsuit on?
Wetsuit
Kind of
on,
thing?
yeah. And
Any
then-
slime or
Nothing.
sandpaper marks?
Nothing. And it was just like, boom, and I got launched. And next
Holy
thing I knew, I was
shit.
in the air looking over, splash, turbulence with the big gray thing on my board, just in a whirlpool, just. And then it stopped and went dead calm, and I was like, holy shit! Fucking grabbed my board and booked, man.
Yeah. We tagged 2 white sharks with transmitters that same day.
Really?
10 a.m. and around 11:30 a.m.
Año.
Año Nuevo, yep, just
Oh,
south of the island. There were 2. We saw a breacher in the morning too that just was off the north end that just breached from out from here to that van. Hopped out of the water. 2 of the students saw it. I heard the big pop splash. Turned around. What was that? It was a giant shark just jumped out of the water.
Holy cow.
So yeah, and there's been just a lot of reports, a lot of so-called people getting chased out of the water all the way down from Manresa up to
Right.
Baker Beach, But a lot of those so-called chases, just somebody sees the shark and paddles out, gets out of the water. That's not a chase.
Yeah.
So he probably aborted that tack before he even came in contact, but he's already going 20 miles an hour.
Oh.
He's like, that's why he didn't bite down or nothing. We've seen him take out big 1,000-pound elephant seals. And they just come on, boom! And it's, the bite spit thing doesn't always work. Most of the attacks are determined efforts. Like they don't.
So it didn't clamp down. It just.
No, you got stuck on your teeth, like stuck on a pitchfork kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because he never came down with upper jaw. And like I say, he was probably going 30 miles an hour and put the flight brakes on real quick and lost, scrubbed off a lot of speed before he even came in contact. Fortunately.
How big was that tooth?
Hole probably like this.
And that was one of the main teeth, or what do you think?
Yeah, bottoms. In that
Those are the-
first section right in the middle, lower palatal quadrant.
Right.
But when they want to bite stuff, you should see it. Maybe the Saturday when you come on the boat, you will. But that's the good news. Is and the thing is too, guys like you spend any time in the water like that, they're by you all the time.
I know that. Yeah.
You see sea lions all the time, you just don't see them, But how many times are sea lions around? You don't see them until they pop up. The sharks are around there.
Sure.
But the good news is they look and they don't often, come by. And the bigger the shark, typically the less interested they are in biting things like that. Knock on wood. There's a guy doing maintenance dive off the Pacifica Pier, maybe a month or so ago, and twice he went in the water and saw a shark and got out. Right off Pacifica Pier. There's been 2 contacts with boats where a shark went up and bit a guy's halibut. Another guy had a sea anchor out, and the shark came up and grabbed it and yanked it off the stern of his boat. And a lot of different surfers seeing sharks this year, and just a lot of reports. It's been a funky year. All the way since January, February, we had all those squid. And the weather's been weird. This is the worst weather all day. Today was awesome, but October all last month sucked. Weather was worst October we had since '96.
Came a different angle, or an inch this way, or an inch that way.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could have been pretty devastating. That's pretty much the comment after every shark attack person I've ever met with, though. There's like a couple that have died, but mostly it's just like, wow, even when they get injured,
Right.
They again without even closing their mouth. They can just like hit you with a machete or something, and just like all those big teeth. So they don't even have to put the pressure on to really injure people.
Yeah, just a casual contact.
Yeah.
Some of those fresh teeth, it's like broken glass. You get little cuts on your
Sticky
hand just
sharp.
handling it.
Right.
You'll slice your fingers up just by handling
Yeah,
it.
it's like glass. It's just
You see them go
they're
right
designed
through,
to do that.
right through the rib cage as adult elephant seals, just like
Yeah, they don't even know what
It's
the,
all
what
the pores, you
jaw
can see all
per
the
square
bone.
inch pressure is on these
Insane.
things.
So they've never done tests.
Not
like that?
accurately. They get
Wow.
it varied from 10,000 pounds up to 20 tons per square inch. They can't really get a meter to work properly.
Like an
Suffice to say,
alligator.
they can bite really
It's
hard.
big, yeah.
Well, their jaws are segmented in 4 sections. Not only here like ours, and our bottom jaw is segmented here, but it's like a bear trap that sits under the skull. And so with us, our bottom jaw just comes up and bangs against their top head.
Right.
Whereas their upper jaw comes out and goes down and meets the lower jaw.
Oh, really?
So it's
got a
not just
hinge.
this, it's actually 2 You know, so it's like double the
know
pressure.
that.
Then it's 4 hinges like a snake's
You can
head.
change the shape of it to
Of the
scoop
head.
or scissor or whatever.
Wow, I want to learn more. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
interesting.
their heads are flexible, and that cartilaginous skeletal structure is like high impact plastic, and they actually can exert and absorb stresses and pressures that would fracture calcified bone. Like an orca even couldn't exert the same types of forces that a white shark smaller than the orca could, just because it's made of that like high impact plastic cartilage. And the teeth are designed to be able to break off and replace within a relatively short period of time. Did you remember any vibe beforehand?
Yeah.
Did you?
Isn't that a trip?
When you come on the boat, pay attention to that.
Yeah, let's see him watch him.
I think it's fucking
We
real.
sometimes tell ourselves we get that too, like, oh, it's the day, but you know,
Yeah.
it's sometimes yeah, sometimes no.
Yeah, we felt it. I told my buddy, I was like, yeah, there's some strangers out here, Chris. Fucking be
Especially
aware
people
of
that are
it.
in the water a lot. You pick up, seals do it, birds do it.
It's those big
Birds
boils,
gather before
like,
they.
where
Sometimes they'll. I don't know how they can do it, but the birds will gather up above a shark before they even do anything.
yeah.
Oh, they
Watch
know.
it.
You can see.
Or some days we'll, if we put our lure out, they'll where are they?
Just sit right there.
Waiting for something to happen. It's like I can tell by the way they because they can be up 30 meters up and look down through the water and see shit. we
Or
can't
they'll
see.
be sitting on the water
And I'll
in
take
the
off.
slick, and then all of a sudden they all take off.
Do they migrate, do you think? I mean, of course they do.
Yeah.
there
Well,
are big
our ID'd sharks have been seen
rotation
at
around the
Farallones and Guadalupe. Those are not
they
transmitters,
go
just
from-
ID tags, like ear tag on a bear. And then the transmitters have gone, again, Guadalupe out to Hawaii and crazy deep ocean.
So they're on the move, and they stop here to feed, and then move on to the next spot, feed,
Yeah.
move out.
Most of the
feed.
conventional wisdom that the scientists have been touting about white shark, you can wad it up and throw it right out the window. The bite spit hypothesis is junk. It's the idea that the sharks, as a matter of course, will rush up, bite an animal, and then retreat and wait for it to either die or escape, and then come back and eat. We've seen them go after big 1,000-pound elephants, and they just keep coming. The thing is, when they back off, it's either because the researchers barged in on a boat and spooked them, or another shark showed up, and the sharks are kind of casing each other out. And when they eat elephant seals, remember it's a 1,000-pound animal sometimes, the seals bite the sharks.
A big fight.
That's why the seals lose their head a lot of times. When the shark lunges at them, they try to bite back and end up sticking their head right in the shark's mouth.
No shit.
The sharks aren't aiming for the
I
head.
see that every 6 months at least. I see one seal.
What,
with no
what,
head.
what that is often is the the shark's coming to bite the seal. Period. Right,
See,
and the
like this
seal
stuff?
will turn around.
So probably how seals have those big claws.
Right.
Just they're brawling. I mean, they don't call them sea lions for nothing. I wish you could see.
Oh,
just
scratches
can't
on
see the
their
whole-
face, huh?
Yeah, right along, scraping along.
That's
there.
all seals.
You'll see big, like 2 big holes here, and then 2 smaller ones there where the jaw
Canines.
canines, and when they just grab on for dear life, And then elephants, sometimes they hit the thing so damn hard, just not.
The sharks are
It just
stunned.
kind of stuns them a little bit. But I'll show you a picture on Saturday with probably like it's like a couple-year-old female, just a big hole opened up, one hit, and just like this
Cavernous.
incredible hit. Just it's on
One hit killed a 1,000-pound seal.
Yeah.
And the thing, remember with
shocking.
those bite marks, the skull of an elephant seal, they look kind of dopey, and sea lions, they dribble balls in their nose, it looks kind of goofy, whatever.
Right.
Look at their skull, it's every bit as impressive as the largest North American bear.
Yeah,
and,
those
and
things
so
are big.
if there's a terrestrial land-bearing version of a white shark, it'd be an animal that when it got hungry went looking for bears and wolves. You know what I mean? It's called a macro apex predator. Apex predators are at the top of the food chain. This is an animal that dines on the top of the food chain.
Wow.
The only thing it really bothers is other white sharks, killer whales, groups of killer whales, and groups of humans. So,
Yeah, those things trip me out.
social mammals are pretty much the only thing that really deal, and other white sharks that really deal with those things.
How about dolphins?
No, it's a myth. These white sharks, big makos, they eat dolphins, bottlenose dolphins included. Once they get around 1,000 pounds, because dolphins are, they get pretty big. Big bull dolphins are just as fast as sharks, almost as strong. But big makos, big white sharks, they're warm-bodied too. Unlike a tiger shark, they'll beat up a tiger shark. Sharks are hard to kill, so dolphins can beat up fully most sharks, kick them out, But there's certain species that they just do not deal with. And
when
they
pass
show up
the
in their
time,
stomachs
it's
all the
hard
time.
You hear about people fighting them off, but
Uh-uh.
good for morale, but not really.
Like this shark here, he came up and bumped and took off. There's, a lot of guys are in the same situation. They see the shark and they punch it, and then it went off. They go, wow, if I hadn't punched it, it would have ate me. It's like, no. Had you not even seen it coming and not seen it going, it wasn't going to come back. And you punching it, that it didn't even notice, or whatever.
Yeah, I hear if you punch the nose, it's sensitive there if you hit it.
Look at
Yeah, you really got.
tell that to the seal. They got his head bit off.
I mean, you have to like aim right there, and still it might not make a difference. Or get somewhere in here. This is where it matters the most.
But all that's like, encased in that high impact cartilage.
If you can.
Yeah.
Get around those teeth.
There are other stories of divers, you know, like in Chile. There's a couple of reports, and you know, where people have been banging right on the head of the things. When they're determined, they just keep coming.
That one guy, ab diver, got killed there, and it took like the
There's a
shark
report
came-
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
McCosker wrote
they
that.
had the guy's body, and it just wouldn't let go.
Yeah.
And they were just beating on it, and they got most of him back.
Right, that sucks. I'm glad I'm not a story
Those
like
are sad
that, dude.
stories.
Holy shit, man.
There's been about 100 attacks since 1926, and a dozen fatalities in all that time. More people are killed every year by farm animals. I don't think it's as scary, but you know, statistically, you're much more. It's like the mountain lion thing.
Yeah, this has like a primordial thing to it that just.
Yeah, you're in the
you can't
water.
get-
It's like,
can't
you know,
shake.
people that mountain bike up in San Mateo in the hills and stuff. Any amount of time you see, there's mountain lions there. They see you, you don't see them.
Right.
Every once in a while they bite somebody. It's horrific, but very, very rarely. It's an anomaly kind of thing.
It's
shocked. I mean, jeez.
Online and it was aired in South
It's like it's
Carolina.
unreal. Yeah.
It happened right now, yesterday.
Oh, really?
4:45.
4:45. We're out.
Right on.
I'll be talking
All right,
to you
We'll
Joe.
talk to you
Hopefully
before.
we'll see you
Talk
Saturday.
to you tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, I'll
on
give you a
Saturday.
call.
Right on.
Thanks,
Hey,
guys.
nice to
See you
meet
guys.
Nice, you guys.
Yeah.